think people may have some issue finding the Zoom link if they are not familiar with the registration. Um, but in the meantime, I think we can get started, and I will resend the email to most of our expected participants just to make sure that they have the correct Zoom link. And maybe right now, Kato, you can take it away and introduce your goals here. Like very happy to have you also from iGEM to discuss with us today.
Okay, I welcome you all today on the 31st of May 2024 to this SynBio4ALL Africa Guest Speaker Event 4, whereby we are hosting Yorgo from who is the program coordinator at iGEM. Today we are privileged that we are going to learn much more about iGEM actually, because Yorgo has all the information. If you have always been thinking about iGEM, if you have always been wanting to participate in iGEM, if you have not been knowing about iGEM, be sure that today you will learn much more about iGEM with Yorgo. I will start by giving a brief introduction and a short biography of Yorgo. Yorgo is currently a program coordinator at iGEM in France. Through iGEM's community program, is contributing to the advancement of synthetic biology, education, and the development of an open, collaborative, and cooperative community. He began his and security fellow beyond containment. Since then, he contributed to the development of different SynBio-related activities in governance and policy to globally engage youth in the field's larger context. He previously worked as a lab automation and software developer to optimize the production of biomedicine driven by artificial intelligence. Since 2020, he has been actively involved. He has been actively involved in BWC related activities. He represented iGEM at the MX2 BWC meeting of experts in 2021, the 9th BWC review conference in 2022, and here he contributed. He contributed to the production of the youth recommendation and was a youth for biosecurity fellow with the United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs. Outside of iGEM, he's an active volunteer with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies in France. So with great honor, I take this opportunity to invite Yorgo to talk to us today. Thank you so much, Yorgo. You can take over.
Amazing. Thank you, Kato. Thank you for inviting me today. And hello, everyone, wherever you're joining us from. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So yeah, as Kato said, I'm joining today from iGEM to talk to you about who we are, what we're doing, and what are our goals to build and support the global synthetic biology ecosystem. So in the next few slides, I will talk to you mainly about iGEM, about some of the initiatives that we have, the different programs, with a focus on biosecurity as well, because that's where I come from. And of course, inviting you to join the different projects and different things that we have ongoing. So if you thought about iGEM and what we do, please do ask any questions that you might have. So don't hesitate to interrupt me throughout the presentation. Just make it as interactive as possible. Yeah, because it's gonna be a lengthy one. So yeah, let's make it a conversation more than like a lecture. So with that, maybe I can kick things off. So iGEM, or the International Genetically Engineered Machine Foundation, is the heart of synthetic biology. So what do we mean by that? I will present to you in the next slide what do we exactly mean by it, but for now, maybe we can start with a few historical events that made iGEM what it is today. So initially in 2003, iGEM started as a course at MIT to support and develop skills for students who want to work in bioengineering. So the way it started is that a few teams within a specific course at MIT, they built small teams and then they competed to build parts and to solve problems that were in their communities. So throughout the years, iGEM grew into a global competition. So historically speaking, one of our main programs is the competition. And through that competition, we engage youth and industry people in the same manner. So we enable them to build teams and develop solutions using synthetic biology for global challenges that we face today. So these go from therapeutics to diagnostics to space to climate change. We will present them as we move forward with the presentation. So last year we celebrated our 20th year. So we've been in existence for 20 years now. A lot of things happened. I'll try my best to present to you what we did, keeping in mind that iGEM started in the US, so in the MIT, and now currently we still have our offices in the US, but a big part of our staff moved into France. So now we're operating in Europe and in the US as well. Of course, our teams are across the globe, but mainly the staff are based between Paris and France and Boston and the US. So through the competition or through iGEM, we are addressing and building solutions for everything and all of the problems that you can imagine around us. iGEMers are very good at innovating in a lot of things and a lot of problems that we find around us. So these go, once again, from combating climate change to reimagining food production to mitigating infectious diseases and building effective living therapies. So in the next few slides, I will present to you how we exactly do this and how we enable people through the competition program and through other programs to do this exactly, to build these solutions and help the world and help the communities across the globe. So a few numbers before we dive in. So I started the presentation by saying that iGEM is the heart of synthetic biology. And what do we exactly mean by that? So throughout the years and throughout the competitions, more than 4,300 SynBio projects have been created or concepted. So it's a lot of proof of concept, a lot of projects that have the potential to become startups or have the potential to become something that has an impact in the scientific community. So throughout the years, throughout the past 20 years, more than 4,300 SynBio projects have been created. And across the competitions and across different initiatives that we had, more than 80,000 iGEMers went through our activities and mainly the competition. Something that I didn't say yet is that during the competition, the way we build the solutions is through biological parts. So when teams are creating their SynBio solutions or when they are working on their SynBio projects, what they work on is biological parts. And we call them within iGEM or within the SynBio ecosystem biobricks. So these are basically kind of like Lego at the DNA level that you can build, and with the hope of these being standard parts that you can easily dispatch or put together so that you can build new gene circuits or new biological systems. Throughout the years as well, after the competition or through the competition, more than 250 startups have been created from iGEM. I will also present them to you in the next few slides. And of course, everything that we're doing in parallel, we are developing a culture of responsible innovation. What we mean by that is that we are working with an emerging technology, which is synthetic biology, and recently with AI as well. So we are at the intersection of two emerging fields. And when you work with an emerging field, there's always a risk on whoever's working with that technology. And it requires a sense of responsibility on the community level and on the organizational level. And we do that in iGEM very good. And I will present to you in the next few slides as well how we do it exactly. So in a nutshell, iGEM is a combination of 6 programs. historically speaking, like I've said before, so the main program is the iGEM competition, so through which we engage students and industry people to build teams and compete at the global level to build synthetic biology solutions to global challenges that we face on an everyday basis. After the competition, or even if you don't go through the competition, you have the community program, which I basically work in, I mainly work in. And this is your window to the global SynBio ecosystem. So that's where a lot of things happen after the competition. So once you do the competition, you can stay engaged with iGEM in different projects. You can become an ambassador. You can do a lot of things. And even if you don't go through the competition, you can engage with iGEM community. So it's like a window for anyone who is interested in synthetic biology and who wants to contribute to the ecosystem through our different initiatives and have, let's say, have your say in what's happening in the world. The iGEM Startups program is something that also accompanies competition projects that have promising applications after the competition itself. So the startups program is like a pipeline that some projects go through so that they learn about entrepreneurship, they learn about how they can develop a product, they learn about the market, and they learn about how they can build their own startup from their iGEM project. Or you can also be an external individual or an external team who has or who have their own SynBio project idea that you want to develop and create a startup from. The iGEM technology program is more provides technical support to the competition. So as you might imagine, when you work with biology, it's a lot of technicalities. It can be as simple as a PCR that's not working all the way to a gene circuit that you want to build and you don't know exactly how. So the technology program is this component that supports participants in the competition. The responsibility program is the component that really focuses on responsible innovation, on the biosafety, biosecurity aspect of synthetic biology. So how we use it in the community, how we use it in the competition. So to oversee most of the activities that are happening within iGEM. And last but not least, the leagues program, which is something that was recently created like an experimental effort from iGEM to develop the SynBio ecosystem and the emerging bioeconomies. So I will dive into more details into all of them. But long story short, iGEM is really a combination of 6 programs. And through these 6 programs, a lot of things can happen and are happening. So I've been talking about the competition and the existence of iGEM for the past 20 years. So this is kind of like a snippet of the distribution of teams throughout the 20 years of existence of iGEM. So as you can see, it's a lot of concentration between Europe, the US, and China. We do have teams in Africa and Latin America. So there is representation across all continents, and we do want to increase representation in different parts of the world. That's why we are here today to talk to you about how you can engage with iGEM and how we can increase presence in different parts and in different continents and different countries. So in general, teams compete in categories or what we call them recently villages. So you're a team who wants to develop a synthetic biology solution. Your solution is an answer to a specific problem. And these problems, they fall under different categories that we call villages. So these go from climate crisis to bioremediation, to food and nutrition, to oncology, space, software and AI, biomanufacturing. So teams mostly compete in these different villages. We also have a high school village, which is more specific to high school teams. So our participants go all the way from high schools to undergrads, overgrads, and industry as well with commercial teams. So what does it mean to actually do the competition? So I've been talking about competition, doing iGEM, building a team, building a solution. So this is what I've been through, what Kato most probably been through. If you're an iGEMer on the call and you did the competition, that's a classic cycle that you go through if you do the competition. So it all starts in let's say between January and February. That's when teams start. So that's when you decide, okay, I want to participate in iGEM, I want to be in the competition. You build your team during that period. After that, once you have your team, you brainstorm and you determine your goals and tasks. So what's the problem that I want to work on? So for example, I want to develop a diagnostics tool for cancer. Okay, so I decided on the problem. Next, I determine the goals. So usually within a team, it's like a startup operations. So you have a group who works on the experimental part, a group who works on the computational part, a group who works on public engagement, a group who works on biosafety, biosecurity. So these are all decided in that period. So it's the design, so brainstorm, determine team goals and tasks. And of course, the competition is complex by itself. If you're new to it, there's a lot of rules and there's a lot of things that you should read so that you're aware of how the competition actually goes. But of course, you're not alone. So whenever there are new teams, we do have new teams every year. So what we do is that we have mentorship, we have ambassadors, we also have the community around the teams to always support whoever needs help to understand more about iGEM, especially if you're new to the whole ecosystem because it can be complex. So once you have your project, you know what you want to do, you understand the competition, usually in the summer. So now currently we're almost in June, so we're starting tomorrow. From June to August, usually that's when teams build their projects. So that's when they try to implement their concepts. That's when they try to test their hypotheses, their theories. So that's when they try to generate results and have the proof of concept. Once you finish your summer, you work on your ideas, you run your experiments, so on and so forth. You have to build documentation, and that's what we call wiki. So the wiki is basically a website that every team builds, and then that's where you document everything that you were able to do on all the aspects of the competition. And once everything is done, we all gather at the Grand Jamboree. So that's the big conference that happens at the end. I will give you more details about it. So all the teams gather in one place. So it happens every year since 2022 in Paris. All the teams gather to compete, to get evaluated by judges, and then get awards, medals, so on and so forth, and to really experience this sense of community. So I'll show you a picture that I really like at the end about iGEM that really reflects how big of a community we are. So yeah, maybe before we move to the next part, I'm not sure if there's any questions or anything specific.
Yorgo, I have one quick question here.
Yeah.
So iGEM is a global community, right?
Yeah.
But I believe I've seen some like local or like smaller
Yeah.
iGEM initiative. Are you gonna touch on that like later, or like if not, then you can like give us like a brief explanation, a few sentences right here.
Definitely. So that's the leagues program. So if you've heard about local iGEM competitions, maybe in Indonesia or in Latin America or Africa, that's through the leagues program. I will present to you which are these local competitions exactly in the next few slides as well. But yeah, so I see in the chat there's someone. So Nelson is asking, suppose I have a feasible prototype idea, but doesn't require the team limit number. How can I join iGEM? So there is no limit on how many team members, if I understood correctly. There is no limit on how many team members you can have. So our teams go from 5 team members all the way to 30, 40. So it really depends on the capacity or the management capacity of the university or the institution that you are part of. So usually our teams are either part of institutions or part of companies. So the companies or institutions, they are the ones that oversee the management aspects of the team. If you don't have the four yet, I think it's a bit complicated because there's a lot of aspects. So it's not a one person's job to go through the competition. It's really a team effort, and it's a lot of things happening. So you'll need to build your team before you consider participating in the competition. So at least have a few team members to kick things off, and then from there you can expand if you want to recruit more, but at least have a small team that you can start things with. we do have an open Slack. So there's Nelson who's also asking about if we have a Slack that's open. It's not exclusive. It's actually open to anyone who's interested in synthetic biology or in iGEM by itself. So you can join. I'll share the links maybe after the presentation. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything. Yes, so in Africa, there's not representation as much as in other continents, but we're actively working with different communities to support that. And we do have some initiatives running that are not necessarily part of the competition. I will also get to present them a bit after. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything. There's Abrifa. Does that mean graduates? And I mean those who are out of school cannot be part of iGEM. I'm asking this because you said those who join are mostly part of a school or organization. So yes, the team is managed by a school or organization, but you can approach them and ask them to be part of the team. So if you have the technical expertise or if you have something that they need, you can be part. So there is a process for you to be part of this, of the team without necessarily being a student of that institution. So there is a way for mostly everyone to be part of teams within the competition. Okay, I think I covered most of the questions in the chat. I'm not sure if I missed anything, please let me know, and maybe like we can cover them a bit later. And don't hesitate to open mic maybe, but yeah, I'll leave it to everyone. Okay. So I've been mentioning the competition, the fact that we work in different categories. Something to give more context. So I'm not sure if all of you on the call here are familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals, but these are mainly a call for action that all countries agreed on to promote prosperity while protecting the planet. So these go from protecting life below water, life on land, climate action, fighting poverty, zero hunger. So most of the things that you hear about fall under these SDGs or these Sustainable Development Goals. And iGEM as a group or as a competition or as a community is contributing to almost all of them. So through the competition, through the solutions and innovations that the teams are developing, these fall under these SDGs. And we're actively working on, joining hands with other groups on solving these or addressing these SDGs. So going from the global impact to the national impact, we also fit into the different national strategies. So if you're familiar with what that means, most countries currently are releasing strategies or national strategies related to bioengineering, synthetic biology, biotechnology. So for example, the UK recently released funding for bioengineering that's specific for bioengineering. And these usually give an overview of the current national landscape and what kind of challenges the country faces on the national level. And that's interesting for us in iGEM to understand because it really helps us stay relevant, and the solutions that we develop or that we recommend for teams to develop through the competition stay relevant to what's happening in the world, so that we're not operating in a bubble, we're operating with everyone else. So we fit into what's happening out there. So long story short, once again, iGEM is really a community. It's not really about the students and youth. It's really a community of startups, industry and regional leaders, academics and researchers advancing the field of SynBio. So on the slide here, I'm sure some faces look familiar. These are synthetic biology. Some of them are synthetic biology leaders in the field, and let's say all of them went through iGEM. So either they were principal investigators, they were responsible for iGEM teams, or they were iGEMers themselves, part of a team. So, and they still have this, let's say, love for iGEM. They are still around. They support us in the different activities without necessarily being a core team member of a staff or something else. it's really a group that stays around, that are involved in so many different ways, and I will let you know in the next few slides how they do it. But yeah, so something to keep in mind for this session at least is that iGEM is really a combination of things, and it goes all the way from startups to academia to anything that you can imagine that relates to science. So in the next few slides, I will talk to you a bit about the community program and to kind of demystify this idea that iGEM is an exclusive network and it's really only for people who go through the competition and who do like a specific thing, and then that's when they gain access to the community. So the community program is really a window to anyone who wants to be involved in the global SynBio ecosystem, whether you're a high schooler, whether you're a first year college student, whether you're an overgrad, whether you're a PhD, whether you're a researcher, you have a place in iGEM. And iGEM community specifically is a way, as something, or as a platform that we develop for people to develop their own projects, to have ownership over these projects, and to manage small teams to contribute and support the global SynBio ecosystem. So the community program itself, it started back in 2017. And this started after, as a concept called after iGEM. So it started as something for people after the competition. But recently we kind of rebranded into iGEM community because we wanted to like break this idea of it's only after iGEM that you get to be part of this group. So iGEM community is more inclusive, is more welcoming to anyone who wants to be involved, and it sends that message. So we're a community that's open and we want to be collaborative and welcome as much people from across the globe. So in 2017, it started with a group of ambassadors, a few ambassadors, 5 of them, who were tasked in spreading the word about iGEM. So their job was to talk about iGEM, what we do, to talk about SynBio and the potential of it. And there was also a delegation that went to the UN Biological Weapons Convention. So I'm not sure if you recall, when Kato was presenting me, he mentioned BWC. So the BWC is the Biological Weapons Convention from the UN. So we did send a delegation back in 2017. And across the years, the community grew. So it went from only like 5 ambassadors. It grew into ambassadors and committees that work on different initiatives to support the competition and to support the SynBio ecosystem. And then recently, we officially became iGEM community, so since 2022, with over 50 ambassadors and 7 networks and 5 initiatives. And in 2023, these networks and initiatives were kind of switched or converted into topics. And that's when we had project heads and ambassadors. And I will give you more details in the next few slides. So what does it mean to be an ambassador, and what does it mean to be a project head working on different topics? So in a nutshell, iGEM community is 2 main components. We have projects that are led by project heads, and we have ambassadors and promoters who operate in the different regions. So we have over 40 ambassadors who operate in different continents. So we have in Japan, in Africa, and Uganda, and Kenya, and the US, and different parts of Latin America. So we have ambassadors who are operating there, and I will let you know what they do exactly. And the project heads, they are also spread around the globe, and they also lead and build their own initiative, and you can join them. So they usually recruit, and I will let you know how you can join. So in a nutshell, 2 big components: projects, ambassadors, and we're over 40 ambassadors, 30 project heads, 23 active projects, and spread across 30 countries. So these are the project heads who are actively working on developing projects that go from, for example, there's an initiative called SynBio 101, and the idea of the initiative is really to improve access to synthetic biology education in different parts of the world. And what they do is that they build frugal educational kits to teach about synthetic biology in different communities. So they do activities in Indonesia, for example, in the US, in Georgia, and they're trying to expand in Africa as well. Other initiatives focus really on bridging this gap between academia and industry. So they host webinars with experts that they invite to talk about what does it mean to transfer from academia to industry or from industry to academia. So these are some examples that are developed uh, by the project heads. The ambassadors as well. So these are the ambassadors that we work with, and their main job is really to spread the word about iGEM, about synthetic biology, to recruit teams for the competition, to connect with communities. So if you want to know more about iGEM within your local community, don't hesitate to reach out to any of them. I'll let you know once we finish the presentation how you can do that. So they are always open to chatting, to talking about iGEM, to talking about the SynBio community and your local environment and how they can best support you. So to engage with different stakeholders within their local communities. So these are some examples that I like to share about what the ambassadors are actually doing. So in the first picture, I'm not sure if you can see the cursor or not. But okay, I think if you take the first picture, the top right, so these are a group of students, so iGEM teams from Uganda and other parts of Africa that were at an event that was hosted by ambassadors. And the idea is really to showcase their iGEM projects. So they gathered and they presented, they got to know each other, and they prepared before the actual event that is the Jamboree at the end of the year. So this happened in Uganda a couple of years ago. The picture that's right next to it, so we're still in the top. This happened in Finland. So it was an ambassador of Europe from this year who gathered some alumni from Finland, and they had an informal meeting just to talk about their experience, to share ideas with the new incoming iGEMers, and to talk about their experiences within iGEM and within synthetic biology. The picture that's next to it was an online info session. So the Zoom screenshot that you see in the middle and the top, it's an online session that the Ibero-America ambassadors hosted. So Ibero-America merges Latin America with Portugal and Spain. So they hosted like an info session to talk about iGEM within this ecosystem. So what does it mean to be part of iGEM in Ibero-America? What kind of opportunities are out there and how they can engage? So they hosted things in Spanish and Portuguese. The picture that's right next to it, our ambassador in New Zealand, she was at a conference. She also met some iGEMers and she also engaged with the stakeholders over there to talk about iGEM and to talk about how some universities that were present can be involved in the competition. And the rest of the pictures, it's also different parts of the world. So there's a group in Brazil that had the same activities, a group in Egypt, a group. So the one of the pictures, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor once again, but if you look in the corner and the far left corner, that's a group picture of all iGEMers at SynBio Beta, which is one of the biggest conferences of synthetic biology in the world as well, and so on and so forth. So long story short is that we do have presence in a lot of parts of the world, and we do want to keep expanding. So if you're from a country that you don't know about iGEM or iGEM is not there, we do want you to reach out. We are always open to chatting about how we can engage with you. So the journey of an iGEMer doesn't stop after the competition. We always try to develop initiatives. We always try to support them in their academic journeys. We always try to provide them with different opportunities. One of these is providing them with an opportunity to publish their iGEM project. For that, we collaborate with different peer-reviewed journals so that they can publish these projects. The whole idea of the collaboration is that they go through a review process that is not necessarily as stringent or as strong as if you were a senior researcher who publishes in very high impact factor journals. So we publish with journals that still have a high impact factor, but with journals that have specific programs that focus on. Oh, sorry, I'm not sure why I raised my hand, but sure. So we do provide them with opportunities to publish with these journals after the competition. So since last year, we've been collaborating with Frontiers in Systems Biology so that iGEMers can publish in these projects and these journals. So in the same spirit or in the same topic, we have other projects within the community that support iGEMers in the publishing process. So one project, which is the first one, demystifying the publication process, is a project that actually provides iGEMers or whoever wants to know more about publishing with a way of understanding what does it mean to publish a paper, to understand more about the review process, to understand more about what's even a journal. If you're an early career researcher, you might not be familiar with these topics. And that project specifically is recruiting. So if you go to the website, you can see there's a recruitment form and you can apply and hopefully join them to develop the project as the year moves along. And other projects as well, they operate in the same spirit. So maybe before we move into the next parts, we could take some questions. I'm not sure if there's any.
Yes, sir. I'm just asking.
Yes. So in the chat, I can see as Africa has a few representative teams till date. Are there any projects targeted for Africa to encourage? Yes. So there are projects that are targeted towards Africa. I'll share some links with you. These are more from the community side. So we have South Africa, for example, and this is a project that aims at providing educational tools for anyone who wants to learn about synthetic biology without necessarily going through the competition. So it's a way for you to engage with iGEM community without necessarily being part of the competition and while contributing to the Africa ecosystem. So Nelson, there's a question. Have you ever had a prototype winning a competition in iGEM and proceed to be actualized in real life? Yes, so we do have a lot of solutions that have been developed and sorry, I don't know why Zoom is detecting my my hand gestures. But yes, we do have solutions that have been developed in the competition and then became startups or became PhD projects, and I will present them right in the next few slides. There is an ambassador in Kenya. If you go to the website, she's called Kelly. She's based in Kenya. So if you are there and you want to chat with her, she's of course open. You can also reach out to me after the call if you want an introduction, so we can connect you both. Okay, I saw that already someone replied. Okay. So Kato is based in Uganda. He's one of our amazing ambassadors. Can these projects work? Can these projects work be produced on industrial level? Yes, so of course they start as a proof of concept and then they get developed from there. So once they become a startup, there's a lot of things that can happen, and one of them is reach an industrial level. For example, if it's biomanufacturing, there are some projects that went on and became startups that actually developed these solutions that they started within the competition. In Nigeria, there are no ambassadors yet, but we do have project heads. So we do have 2 project heads who are based in Nigeria. So the project heads of South Africa, and these are the ones who are developing the educational tools focused on the African ecosystem. Can I undertake it as part of my master's degree? Yes. So it really depends on the institution that you are part of. For some people, iGEM is an internship. So they join iGEM as part of their master's degree to validate some credits or to validate some courses. In other places, it's not. It's a voluntary thing that you do to participate in the competition. But in a lot of institutions and universities, it is a internship that gets validated and that gives you credits for your program or for the master's degree that you are doing. So I work with a research institute in Nigeria, and we have been developing synthetic biology solutions and biomanufacturing. Is it possible to bring this project onto iGEM? Of course, anything is possible as long as it fits into the rules of the competition. So that's why it's really important to be aware of the judging process, how you get evaluated for your project. So everything is available on the website. It's really your place to go. If you want to know all the details, if you go to the competition website, you know how you can start a team, what are the rules, how you can develop your project, and what kind of projects are usually accepted and validated within the competition. Okay, I think we took most of the questions. Once again, please correct me if I'm wrong, if I missed anything, but if we continue, so there was a question before on the presence of local iGEM competitions, something smaller than the main competition. So that's what I was talking about. So leagues. The leagues was an experimental program that ran for 3 years, and the idea was to bring more local solutions to local communities. And we did that through launching regional competitions. And these happened in different parts of the world. So we launched 6 iGEM Leagues programs, one in India, one in the Middle East and North Africa region. But of course, it wasn't only focused on North Africa. So other African countries were also included. We also had a league or a regional competition in Indonesia. And the pilot program, the first one that started, iGEM Design League, was started in Latin America. So all of these, they showed a lot of promise within their ecosystems. So a lot of things happened. There was a lot of interest, a lot of teams participating. But for now, the program is paused for several reasons that you can read on the website. I won't go into the details currently, but there is a lot of things that you can read on the website about why it's paused and when it should run again and why it should run again, and so on and so forth. And part of that, we also developed iGEM Academy, which was a platform for anyone who wants to learn about SynBio from scratch. So it was a series of lectures from experts in the field that were giving details about SynBio, the different aspects from the technical perspective, from the biosecurity perspective, anything that you can or that you want to know about SynBio. So yeah, some of the numbers, for example, for Design League, we had about 75 teams, over 1,400 participants, and 40 institutions represented from 10 countries. In Indonesia, we had 12 teams, 123 participants, and 27 institutions represented. In the MENA League, we had 10 teams, 155 participants, and 5 countries represented. And in the Indian League, we had 5 teams, 50 participants from the Indian ecosystem. So I was also talking about startups. So the startups program is the program that focuses on really taking on these promising solutions that are getting developed within the iGEM competition and nurture them and take them through a pipeline to develop further and hopefully become startups at the end. So far we have more than 250 startups or companies that were started by iGEMers. Most notably, if you're in the SynBio ecosystem, you may know Ginkgo Bioworks. So the concept started as an iGEM team. So the founding partners of Ginkgo Bioworks were an iGEM team back in 2004, if I'm not making any mistakes. And after the competition, they went on to develop Ginkgo Bioworks, which is currently a partner of iGEM, and they are present every year at the conference. So quickly, a few words about startups as a program. So whether you're a competition participant or you're someone who has a synthetic biology solution that you want to build a startup from. It all starts with the biohackathon in March. The biohackathon is really this first point of entry into the startups program where you meet your co-founder. You meet like-minded individuals that have also ideas of SynBio solutions that they want to develop. That's where they all meet in the biohackathon. And the biohackathon, it's really over a weekend where you have deliverables to really nurture and develop this idea through a process. You learn about entrepreneurship, how to do a market analysis, how to do a lot of things related to building startups. And then once you get there's a selection process, so you win. And once you get through that selection process, you go into the VCL, so the venture creation labs, where you also get other insights and other things that you need to learn about how to go further into the field and how to develop further your solution. Then you go into a mentorship program, so you are paired with an expert in your field or in the around the solution that you want to develop. Then the fast track program, and then some of the winners, I think about 15 startups, they get selected to present at the startup showcase that happens during the Jamboree. So this is really a showcase of the 15 best startups that were developed throughout the year, and they present, and then there's a winner that takes the main award and gets further support to develop their solution. Recently, we introduced the Bio Innovation Fair. So this is a space for startups that didn't necessarily go through this pipeline, but anyone who want to be present at the Jamboree but not necessarily have a lot of means. The Bio Innovation Fair is really the space for small startups to get a kiosk or to get a booth so that they can showcase what they work on. So this happens in the Bio Innovation Fair. So that's for startups. Before I dive into the responsibility or biosafety, biosecurity part, was there any other questions or any comments on anything so far? I think
Yorgo, before I gotta leave. So in order to join this league, what would be like the requirement and like if we want to, initiate any partnership with like, people on this call who want to join like this kind of leagues or like some training or academy, what would be the easiest way to jump into or who should we contact?
yeah, definitely. So one of the ways is really to I can share with you an email, so community@igem.org or ambassadors at igem.org. And you can also check the website. So if you want to join any of the projects, some of them are recruiting. So you just need to go on the website and see which one of them are recruiting. So we have AI for SynBio, we have the leagues are currently paused. So there's nothing that's actually running for the leagues. So yeah, if you want to get in touch, community@igem.org or ambassadors@igem.org is a good place to start. If you have an interest in a specific project that you saw, even if they are not recruiting, just shoot us an email, let us know that you're interested. And once they recruit again, we can let you know, keep you on an interest list, and then help you engage. In the meantime, you can also join the Slack that I can also share the link after the presentation. And there you can see there are different channels based on interest. If you're interested in industry, you can see things happening in industry. If you're interested in governance and policy, there are things happening. So we always share opportunities for everyone anyone who's interested.
Oh, great. Thanks a lot.
Okay. So there was a question, can I undertake the project in a DIY lab? So there are, I'm not sure if this classifies as a DIY lab, but we do have community labs that join the competition. Once again, you can't be an individual joining. You need to be part of an institution or join a community lab or a team or a structure to participate. It's not a one person job, but you can definitely reach out to the teams that are around you and ask them if you can be part of their teams, because you need to be an entity, because you have the fees that you need to pay, you have a lot of things that you need to deal with as an entity to be part of the competition. I want to know if the solution has to be innovative in the global sense. In Nigeria, there are less than 5% involved in vaccine production and practically no industry involved in it. Can this be an innovative solution since it's a relevant angle in our country? Yes, so it's really about solving local problems. It's all about how you frame your solution. There's really a whole process of what's the problem that you are trying to solve, where, because like you were saying, so if it's a problem in Nigeria, it doesn't have to be, for example, in Kenya. So it's all about how you frame it, how you present your solution, in what context, and the judges, why they are evaluating this, they will take this into consideration. So it's innovative within the context. So it's not taken out of context. It's really in context, depending on where you are developing the solution and what for. Hopefully I'm answering the questions as expected. If not, please let me know. Okay. So for the next part, it's really focused on biosafety and biosecurity, if you're interested in the topic. This is just some of the opportunities that iGEM provides to support the engagement of stakeholders in the global biosafety and biosecurity discussions or ecosystem. So before we dive into the next part, just a few definitions of terms that will pop up now and then. So what does it mean when we say biosecurity, biosafety, and do we use research? So biosecurity, there's no one definition. So these are just working definitions for this presentation. Don't take it as like the definition, but just keep these in mind, at least for the presentation now. So biosecurity is the protection of biological material and their biosecurity relevant information in order to prevent unauthorized access, loss, or theft or intentional release. The biosafety is personal protection and prevention of the release of hazardous substances and organisms into the environment. And dual use describes the potential of knowledge or technologies to be used by third parties with both good intentions and bad intentions. So this is really things to keep in mind, and what we do at iGEM to develop this culture of I'm working on a technology for the good of the world, but there is a high potential that some people will take it and misuse it, and they will do something bad with it. So these are things that happened in the past and that can potentially happen in the future. So I will quickly go through the next part just to not take too much time. So iGEMers are contributing to these discussions when we talk about biosafety, biosecurity, building a biofuture, building a responsible future. So this is a conference that happened a month ago almost at the OECD. So if you're not familiar with the OECD, it's a group, it's an organization that gathers countries and specifically gathers ministers and policymakers of these countries to talk about pressing issues. So topics like AI, how to oversee AI, topics like human augmentation, and synthetic biology. So the science, they had a conference on science and technology and policymaking, and iGEMers were there in different capacities, and they were talking about their own experience and different panels, different presentations that were happening during this conference. Some of the opportunities that we have within iGEM, and these provide an opportunity to empower youth to shape global policy. It's the Delegates Program. So the Delegates Program is a way for youth to go as part of a delegation to high-level conferences such as the Convention on Biological Diversity, the COP15. We sent 7 delegates there. The Biological Weapons Convention, the 9th Review Conference. So these are conferences where usually policymakers gather and global groups to talk about recommendations and to talk about the different conventions that exist out there to oversee what's happening in the global, let's say, synthetic biology or biotech ecosystems. When iGEMers go there through the delegates program, it's usually to contribute actively. So we host side events, we build recommendations, we always try to be actively involved in the discussions. So this is very important because as young members, depending on what country you're from, it's not the same opportunities that you have. It's not the same entry points, and iGEM kind of breaks down this barrier of entry into these kind of conferences through the delegates program. One of the other programs that we had running is the Biodiversity Youth Leadership Program, and this is a program that prepared a group of youth for the COP15, and it went on for a year before the COP15, and they had like online workshops to talk about different aspects, different topics that would prepare them to be aware about the topics that will be discussed at the COP15 and how they can actively contribute into the discussion to actually make a change and have an impact. Other things that we have running when you're part of the competition or where you're someone who's interested about exploring issues related to safety, security, responsibility when it comes to working with synthetic biology, we have 2 types of workshops that run. The Values and Risks workshop, which is a type of workshop that is animated by ambassadors or alumni who have some experience in facilitating workshops. And we basically work with iGEMers and iGEM teams who take part of the competition to talk about safety, security, and responsibility related to synthetic biology, and what does it mean to work on a project that has a potential of risks or biorisks that might emerge from it. We also have dual use workshops that also focus on different aspects on dual use. So once again, dual use is really this concept where a scientist should think about the technology that they are working on. So it's a technology that you are developing for the good, but can be misused. So other things that you can also be involved in through iGEM are the Youth for Biosecurity initiative. And this is an initiative that is not iGEM related, but iGEM is part of the network. It's an initiative led by the United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs. And the idea is to provide a space for the perspective of new generations and biosecurity professionals. And currently it's a network of more than 100 alumni. And across the years, we had more than 20 iGEMers who were fellows and who were part of that initiative. So myself, I was part of the initiative last year. We have some iGEMers who are part of the initiative this year. And we also animate some workshops for them focused on dual use, on biosecurity, on biosafety, because these are relevant topics anywhere that you go, especially if you are involved in a Youth for Biosecurity initiative. So some things that we contributed in and some of the opportunities that you might have in the future if you join iGEM. We contributed to the development of the Youth Declaration for Biosecurity. And this is basically a declaration or a call to action from youth to biosecurity professionals on how to best involve young leaders and how to increase youth participation in the global discussions on biosecurity. So it was launched back in 2021, and you can endorse it. So if you go to the link, I can send it to you in the chat. If you go to that link, there is a way for you to endorse it. Of course, you should read through it, understand the ideas. If you want to endorse it, you can definitely do that. And I highly encourage you to do so. So some other opportunities that you might have within the competition related to safety and security is that you can get grants or awards. Why do we do this usually? Whenever we think about safety and security, or whenever we think about biosafety and biosecurity, it's really, we think about, oh, this is something that's not important to me because it will block innovation, or this is something that I don't want to think about because it's too much or I don't understand it. When we introduce grants and awards, it's really, we introduce it as a challenge. So this is something that you should include in your designs. Whenever you are developing a synthetic biology solution, you should think about the biosecurity and biosafety aspects of your projects. So in the competition, we do award teams who introduce these concepts into their solutions related to synthetic biology. So the picture that you see here is the Egyptian team from 2018 who won an award related to that aspect. I will skip that slide because we will talk about something similar in the future. So other things that are related to supporting the global synthetic biology ecosystem, it's kind of related to biosafety and security, but not very much. It's the Global Alliance of SynBio Associations. So in different countries of the world, you have groups that are associations that want to develop the national ecosystem of synthetic biology. So for example, you have GASP, which is the German Association for Synthetic Biology. You have SynBio Canada. You have SynBio Africa, which is an initiative that was born from iGEMers to Africa. If you go to SynBio Africa, you can see what they do and how they operate within the African ecosystem when it comes to synthetic biology. There is SynBio Indonesia, SynBio Netherlands. What we do in SynBio Alliance is we provide this common platform where all associations across the globe can collaborate and can connect and can share challenges. Because as you might expect, challenges, for example, that you face in Africa can also be faced in Latin America, or can be faced in the Middle East, or can be faced in Europe. So this is a way to provide a common platform for all associations to talk to each other and share ideas and share challenges and work together to build a better future related to synthetic biology. And this happens under the iGEM umbrella as well. So some projects that you can be involved in as participants related to governance and policy and biosecurity are these first three that you see on the slide. So policy research, mastering biosafety and biosecurity, and iGEM model UN. You can go to this website. Hopefully, I'm not sure if we can share the slides after the call because there's a lot of links. You can go to the website to governance and policy and read the details about these projects. So policy research is really this project that provides a platform for anyone who wants to produce research related to policy. So if you're passionate about the topic, we do have a space for you to work on research related to policy. We're currently developing another course related to biosafety and biosecurity, which is called Mastering Biosafety and Biosecurity, which is a free course that gives an introduction to these issues, so biosafety, biosecurity, and equips scientists to essential skills related to the topics. And iGEM Model UN is something very similar to the Model UN, if you are familiar with it. So this is basically a type of conference that simulates a UN conference. You represent different countries, and then you just go through the rules of procedure on a specific topic. So iGEM Model UN is really something very specific to conferences related to synthetic biology that you can contribute to as well. To avoid overwhelming you, because I feel it's already a lot of information, you can definitely either email policy@igem.org, the email that you see on the slide, or go directly to governance and policy on the community website. You can take your time, explore the details, and if you are interested, once again, even if the project is not recruiting, you can contact us, let us know that you're interested, and we will figure out a way to involve you as much as we can. Okay, I see someone in the chat saying by all means overwhelm us. Okay. So this is something that I usually like to share with when I talk about biosafety and biosecurity. It's really the why. why should we even think about biosafety and biosecurity? And why should we even consider these topics when we work with emerging technologies, and especially when we work with biological systems? So the picture that you see here is really the potential of misuse when it comes to working with biological systems. And it goes from the general public to GMO experts. So chances are that the general public doesn't have enough technical knowledge so that they can misuse the technology that you are developing. But GMO experts, chances are is that they might have this experience and they might have the technical knowledge to misuse the solution that you are developing. So the spectrum that you see here goes from weak to strong according to the public that you are addressing your solution to. And why I'm presenting this, just to circle back to an example that you might be familiar with, it's an example of a biological attack that happened in back in 2001, right after 9/11 in the US. It's exactly a week after 9/11, and it's called Amerithrax. And this was basically a biological attack that was initiated by an anthrax expert. So for context, anthrax is caused by the biological agent that causes anthrax is called Bacillus anthracis, which is a bacterium that's very pathogenic. And what that scientist did is that he introduced spores of that bacterium into letters, and they emailed the letters to senators, so policymakers in the US that they were against. These letters didn't actually get to the policymakers because first they went through the postal service and through people that actually dispatched these letters. So the people that were impacted and that died because of that biological attack are actually the postal service people who were dispatching the letters. So the letters didn't actually get to the senators that were targeted by this attack. And for context, this was one of the longest investigations led by the FBI and one of the most expensive in history. It went on for 9 years, and it was the cost was about 10 million USD. If you want to learn more about, the details of this, there's a very nice documentary on Netflix that's called The Anthrax Attacks in the Shadow of 9/11. And it really gives you all the details on how it went and what happened and what's the amplitude of a biological attack. So this is really related. I imagine most of you on the call are scientists or people who work in science. Even if you're not, these are usually things that we consider as scientists. So the circle of concerns or to prevent harm. So you're in the center, you're developing your solution. Usually the first circle of concern around you that you should think about are the people around you and the animals around you and the environment. The second circle of concern are the stakeholders and other community members. The third circle of concern is, so first, second, yes. The third is the shared environment and society. And all of these are part of a future that we all want to build. So whenever you're building a solution, these are some circle of concerns that you should consider on how to deal with it and who are the people that you should worry about in these circles. Within iGEM, how do we oversee what's happening in our community and how do we actually think about these topics? Whenever you go through the competition, so we've been talking for almost an hour now about the competition and how do we actually do the iGEM competition and what's synthetic biology. Now, the important part is the biosafety and biosecurity aspect. So what do we do and how do we oversee all of these iGEM teams that are working on different SynBio solutions? So the way we know what they're working on is through the project safety form. So every team is required to submit a safety form to let us know what they are working on and what do they think that the potential risks from their projects are. And after that, we oversee their activities and we deal with them and we help them develop understanding and mitigate some of the risks that might arise from their projects and that might cause harm for them, for their communities, and for the people around them. I will not go into further details just for the sake of time, but the way we oversee these activities is through an external group of experts. So what we do, once we receive these forms, they are evaluated by a group of experts, and these experts are part of international organizations such as the Interpol, the US Department of the FBI, and we work with an external group called Biosecure, which provide us with access to biosecurity screeners that actually look into the project safety forms and help us understand the kind of risks that might arise from these synthetic biology projects so that we can mitigate them and help teams understand the risks. And why we do that? Because we believe that identifying and managing risks from synthetic biology is everyone's responsibility. And that's another way how iGEM is contributing to the global synthetic biology ecosystem. So these are some of the innovations that iGEM teams did when it comes to biosecurity. So how to develop biocontainment systems so that we have to avoid an unintentional release, and if there's an unintentional release, how the system is actually contained on a molecular level. So some teams really excelled in developing these systems. So if you're on the call and you want to start an iGEM team, you might be one of these teams who will innovate when it comes to applied biosafety and biosecurity. Other concepts are safe by design. So introducing safety and security concepts into your project early on. So think about these topics while you are designing your experiments, not when you're done with the solution, then you think about the safety and security aspect. It's really integrating these topics early on. And that's what we call safe by design, cell-free systems. And last but not least, so this is just to say that we are not the only group who's overseeing these risks that might arise from biological activities. Interpol is another group that is operating at a global scale with state parties directly and governments to collect, store, and analyze reports on biological threats and incidents. So if you're interested, that's too much detail. You can really explore these. I'm just pointing you to different resources that are very relevant to synthetic biology itself. So that's something that we talked about, that how you can be involved in the Biological Weapons Convention through iGEM. We do have the Responsibility Conference as well, which happens on the sidelines of our annual conference, the Jamboree, and this is really a space for the technical communities and the policy communities to come together in one place and talk about issues related to biosafety, biosecurity, responsible innovation, the intersection of AI, SynBio, all of these topics that you are hearing about if you are in the field. Even if you're not, there is a space for you at the Responsibility Conference to be part of these discussions and contribute. If you want to learn more, once again, about the details, I will share with you the slides, and you can scan the QR codes to get the reports and read them at your own time. So yeah, these are pictures from last year at the Responsibility Conference. So these are the topics that we talked about. So artificial intelligence and synthetic biology, bioeconomies, exploring dual use practices, responsible culture as a governance. So it's a lot of things happening over 2 days and with a lot of experts and a lot of things, a lot of outcomes that we produce as iGEM, as a group, to keep supporting a responsible culture around synthetic biology ecosystem, the synthetic biology ecosystem. And last but not least, that's the annual conference, so the Grand Jamboree. So this year it's happening between the 23rd and the 26th of October in Paris. Of course, you're all invited if you can join us or if you want to join us. I will share with you some details. So for context, the Grand Jamboree hosts annually about 4,000 participants. And that's when all the competition teams come together to present their solutions and to get evaluated and to get this feeling of being part of a community. It's really the place where the community comes alive and we get together and we really see each other 3D rather than on Zoom in a 2D manner. So that's when everyone meets and really connects and networks. So yeah, if you want to read more about iGEM, there's a few articles that are dedicated to the general public that really explains the concept of the competition and what does it mean from a general public perspective. So I've been talking for an hour almost. Now it's time to let you know how you can be involved. There's a lot of ways. So the first one that we mentioned a lot is that you can build your own iGEM team. Reach out to ambassadors, reach out to people in the community, express interest that maybe you want to build an iGEM team, you want to be involved in the community, and you will find people who are here to help you, who are here to talk to you and to guide you through the process. Because it can be overwhelming, it can be so many things, complex topics. We are here to help you and guide you in the process. You can, of course, build your local iGEM community or your local synthetic biology community. So once again, this is something for you to chat with the ambassadors about because that's why they are here for. And if you simply don't have the time and you just want to share your expertise, you can also email us about different topics. For example, the responsibility conference reports. If you have any recommendations or anything that you would like to share about them, you can also talk to us. We are always open to talk about these things. So some of the opportunities that we have available currently is that you can be a judge at the upcoming conference. So what does it mean to be a judge? It's really the judge are the heart of the competition. So this is the group of people who evaluate all of the projects. These are the group of people who pick the winners, who pick the award winners, who pick the nominees for different parts of the award spectrum. And you can be a judge. If you think that you have the time, you have the capacity, you can go check out the link, check out the details, and you can join as a judge. You can also be a volunteer. So a volunteer is really this person that wants to help in the logistics of the conference. So welcoming participants, supporting the stages, supporting presentations, supporting events. So we do have a team of volunteers that we build every year, and now we are also currently recruiting. And you can also join the newsletter to stay up to date about all of the things that are happening. So as you might expect, there's a lot of things happening. It's a big community. It's a lot of initiatives. The newsletter is really this place where we try to put everything together in a concise manner so that we get the main ideas out there and to get people to join us from outside. Sorry. So to finish off, I'll leave you with this picture. So this is a picture that we took last year at the Jamboree. It was the most people that we had, the most number of participants that we had in one conference. It was around 3,800. Of course, they are not all in the picture, but still, it's one of the biggest numbers of participants that we had in one picture. And this is what we call iGEM from above. It's an animal picture that we take at the Jamboree to really to really show how much big of a community we are and how much we grew over the years. So if you go on the website, you can see the first iGEM from above that was taken at MIT with maybe 15 people, and then how it grew over the years. So that's why I like to share and finish things off with that picture. With that, I think I finished my presentation. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them. I'm open to share the slide as well after the presentation if you want to access the links or if you want to check the emails or if you want to contact me as well, feel free to do so. I'll share my email in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much, Yorgo, for that wonderful presentation. So, members and all participants who are present, it's a moment of asking questions. If you have anything you want to know much about iGEM, you can send in your questions via the chat. If you can't send it in the chat, you can unmute and give your submission. But for now, I will give you an opportunity to first handle questions in the chat. After handling questions in the chat, then he will receive questions from individuals who will be unmuted. Yorgo, you can first handle questions in the chat. Or Yogo, you are mute. You can unmute.
Sorry. I was saying, okay. Yeah, thanks. So the first question I saw is, are there any particular academic qualifications for one to be a judge? So there are two requirements. You should be at least 23 years old, and you should have finished your undergrad. The requirements are on the website, so I will send you the link so that you can check all of the requirements, but these are the two main requirements for someone to be a judge. And it can be done virtually. So that's something to keep in mind. Qualifications for volunteering in the conference. If you have the time and you have the motivation, you're welcome to apply. So if you think you have the time and you can be there in person, of course, go ahead, apply. We'll be happy to have you.
Yogo, I think you missed some question. You skipped it. It was saying, please, can one get PhD opportunities through the group?
So we do have a job board. We don't have opportunities ourselves for PhDs, but we do have a job board that we share opportunities from time to time, and these include PhD opportunities. I highly encourage you to join Slack as well. I'm sharing the link. Sorry, I'm just generating a link. Okay. If you use that link, you can join our Slack, and then over there, just take some time to read through, the welcome and README to understand the channels. And one of them is opportunities. And there we drop from time to time things related to PhDs, to job offers, to anything that you might need in the, let's say, SynBio ecosystem or biotech ecosystem. There was a question, can we connect on LinkedIn? Sure, I can share my. So that's my LinkedIn.
Okay, Yogo, also to add on the questions in the chat and the links which you have shared in the chat, I will request after the meeting, okay, you can share all these links again to SynBio4ALL Africa. And
Yeah.
SynBio4ALL Africa, we have got a mailing system whereby all these individuals will get an opportunity to receive these links, which you're free, that they should be published, and we shall share everything with them. Yeah. So for those who miss these links here on the chat, don't worry. If you're on the mailing system of SynBio4ALL Africa, you will receive everything. Thank you.
Yeah. So just another link. I don't want to overload the chat with different links, but if you want to explore the projects and learn more about which one is recruiting, that's also another link. Or if you see a project that is interesting for you, you can also email community@igem.org, the one that I shared earlier, just expressing interest, letting us know that you're interested by that specific project, and then we will go from there. I see there is one in direct. Oh, sorry, I shared it in the direct message. Now it should be public. There is a question. I think it's a direct message. How can one become a volunteer? So, if you want to be a volunteer at the Jamboree, you need to go. Okay, so it's another link. I will. I think we need to
Yogo, you already shared the link for volunteering.
It was on the slides. I didn't share it on the or did I? No, I shared one for the job board. Okay, so just to avoid like overloading the chat with links, we will compile like we will get the chat and then we will compile something and send it to everyone. But yes, so there is a process for you to apply as a volunteer. We will share this. Yes, like Sharon was saying, it was on the slides. I didn't share it, but here it is if you want to see it right now. But yeah, don't worry. We will share the slides. We will compile some links that are relevant to different people, and we'll share them with you.
Actually, for those who have questions, who want directly to ask questions, this is the time you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask any question you go.
Hello, everyone. This is Sharon Adi from Ghana. I have a question. First of all, thank you very much for your presentation, Yorgo. I have a question. So it goes like this. So as a budding synthetic biologist, what can I do to help the public be more receptive of synthetic biology? Because where I come from, most of the times people shy away from anything GMO.
Yeah, I think we always face this issue, like especially if you're very technical and if you're a scientist, it's really hard to explain to people without mentioning GMOs because basically everything we do in the lab is a GMO, technically speaking. So what I would do is really highlight this potential of revolutionizing, the way we do things when it comes to food production, when it comes to the safety aspect. If you focus on the safety aspect and you share these things with them, I think it can be something that's encouraging. And the GMO effect, I think it's a general public thing. Like it's something that's not specific to one community. So I'm based in Europe, and when you talk about GMOs in France specifically, people are like scared. And it's a general perception that if you're not part of the scientific community, because as scientists, we understand that GMOs are essential for us to understand functions, to understand living systems, to understand everything. So what I would do is really share this potential of changing lives, because I truly believe that synthetic biology has this potential, and it takes time. So you can start now if you want to make an impact in your local community, but it takes a bit of time to change this perception, because at the end of the day, some people will be convinced that, okay, they will be okay with GMOs, but some will never be okay with GMOs because they have taken in so much misinformation about GMOs that it's impossible for them to change their mind. But I think the bigger portion of people would be open to these discussions. But once again, it really depends on the community that you are part of. It really depends on the approach. And one of the approaches that usually works is really highlighting this potential of change and potential of doing things differently. I'm not sure if I answered it or not, but
Thank you very much.
Okay, if there is any other question, someone who wants to ask a question, you can unmute and ask a question. If there is no any other question, we can give Yorgo an opportunity to give us conclusion remarks, and we see how we can end this today's meeting. But we can continue making follow-ups. I personally am an iGEM ambassador for Africa. Just in case you have anything you need to know about iGEM, you can reach out to me. I will always be there to help you. Yorgo, I think there is no any other question. You can take on the floor and give in your conclusive remarks as we end today's meeting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just wanted to thank you again for the invitation, to thank all of you for the patience, because I know it's a lot of information to take in one sitting. iGEM is complex, but don't be scared. It's very nice. We're a very nice community. We're always open to talking to different people, especially from new countries, even from countries where we are operating as well. Yeah, just if you want to chat, don't hesitate to reach out. I will not share any more links or emails in the chat. So once again, if you want to talk, I already see that some of you are in the Slack. Feel free to reach out there. And yeah, just keep in touch. And I'm happy that we are engaging with more people within Africa, because we do want to grow there and we do want to develop our presence. And hopefully we'll see some of you part of our community. So yeah, once again, don't hesitate to reach out, talk to us. We're always open to chatting.
Okay, thank you so much, Yorgo. I also want to take this opportunity to appreciate Yorgo's presentation for this SynBio4ALL Africa event. And I would like to appreciate you, Yorgo, on behalf of SynBio4ALL Africa. Thank you so much for accepting our invite and coming in to discuss with the community in Africa. Your discussion really is impactful, and we know it will create a lot of impact in Africa on both in the field of synthetic biology and the field of biosafety and biosecurity. I would like to thank whoever attended this event for really being patient. The information was a lot, and really it is still a lot, because it's not that Yorgo exhausted everything. The only advice I can give, if you want to learn more about iGEM, please, you can just check out on the website of iGEM on everything you want to learn. I want to promise you that as SynBio4ALL Africa, we shall be in touch with Yorgo to organize all the links he feels they're supposed to be public, and we shall make these links available on our mailing system, and you will receive this information. And when you receive this information, don't keep it for yourself. You can also share it with the rest of your fellows in your communities, because it's good when more communities, more people are brought on board in synthetic biology, and we build a strong community for Africa and the rest of the world. Just in case today in this event, I had Ice as a co-moderator, but it's unfortunate that he left the call earlier. And I would like to call you upon to continue being active and being motivated with synthetic biology and all the technologies related. Thank you so much, and I wish you the rest of a good time wherever you are, whether morning, evening, or afternoon, and have a nice weekend. Thank you, Yorgo. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Okay.